a medieval soldier's night. Drift into the quiet hours of medieval life. Hello and welcome. My name is the Sleepy Historian. I am here simply to tell you a story that unfolds slowly, gently, at the pace of breath and rest. You need do nothing but listen. You need achieve nothing. You need only allow the story to carry you towards sleep. The year is 1346. The place is a military camp outside the walls of Calais, and the person whose night we will follow is William, a common foot soldier from Yorkshire. A man not unlike many of us, tired, far from home, carrying the weight of duty, and deeply in need of rest. As you listen, you may find that William's journey mirrors your own. The rituals he performs, washing, preparing, settling into rest, are the same rituals that prepare any human body for sleep. The sensations he notices, the temperature of the night air, the comfort of familiar textures, the rhythm of his breath, are sensations your own body can feel. So settle yourself now. Find a position that feels comfortable. Adjust your blanket. Notice the surface beneath you. And when you are ready, not rushed, but ready, we will begin. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the year is 1346. You are William, a common foot soldier from Yorkshire, camped outside the walls of Calais. Tonight, you're not here to chase battles or alarms. Tonight, you're here to follow the quieter work. Washing, warming, breathing, and letting the hours carry you towards sleep. And as you listen, you can let the story do the staying awake for you. Bring attention to your breath for a moment, an easy anchor, something simple you can return to whenever your mind wanders. Inhale and exhale, and again, inhale and exhale. If you notice thoughts arriving, plans, worries, memories, you don't have to solve them. You can let them drift and return to sensation, to breath, to the gentle pace of the night. The day was long, and now it is done. As the sun lowered behind the distant line of Earth, it painted the sky in slow layers. Soft amber near the horizon rose above that, and then a gradual fading into deepening blue. In the camp, the shift into evening happened the way a tide shifts along a shore. Quietly, steadily, without any single moment you could point to and say, now it is night. Men moved more slowly, voices softened. Tasks became smaller, more careful, more contained. William sat near a fire that didn't roar or crackle loudly, but rested in itself. Steady coals, a few modest flames, heat that stayed close to the ground. The smoke rose in a thin line, then loosened and disappeared into the darker air above, as if the sky itself were taking a long breath. If it feels good, let your shoulders drop just a little, as though you are settling closer to your own bed, your own resting place. The warmth of the fire wasn't the heat of noon. It was gentler than that, a warmth you could approach without bracing, a warmth you could accept without effort. And in that warmth, William felt the day begin to unthread, not in a dramatic way, not with a sudden release, just with small signals. His jaw unclenching, his hands loosening, his eyes blinking slower than before. Evening food was never luxurious, but it was reliable in its own plain way. A pot rested near the coals, and someone stirred it with a patient rhythm. The stew was thin, more broth than substance, but it carried the faint sweetness of onion, the herbal lift of whatever greens had been found, and the grounding salt of preserved meat. William held his bowl close, letting the heat warm his fingers. He ate in quiet mouthfuls, and each mouthful gave him a simple comfort. warmth traveling down into the body, filling the space the day had hollowed out. Bread, coarse and firm, softened when dipped. So he dipped it, waited a moment, and then chewed slowly. There was no hurry, no need to finish quickly. Even the act of chewing became a kind of metronome. Bite, breathe, swallow, pause. If you're listening in bed, you might notice your own jaw. You can let it soften. You don't have to hold tension there. Nearby, someone murmured a short sentence. Another answered, and then the camp returned to that steady hush again, like a room after a lamp has been turned low. William noticed how the night gathered around small islands of light, fires here and there, faces in warm shadow, the edges of tents disappearing into darkness. And beyond the last firelight, the world became simple again. Earth, air, sky. After the meal, William did what he often did. He made the next hours easier by making the next minutes orderly. He didn't call it mindfulness. He didn't call it ritual. He simply did what worked. He checked the few possessions he kept close: a strip of cloth, a needle, a length of thread wrapped carefully so it wouldn't tangle, a small stone that served as a tool more than a treasure. He placed them in the same part of his kit. Then he adjusted the kit so it sat where he could find it in the night if he needed it. There was comfort in repetition, not the boredom of repetition, but the steadiness, the quiet assurance that some things remained the same from day to day, from camp to camp, from dusk to dusk. He folded his cloak once, then twice. He didn't try to make it perfect, he simply made it ready. Notice your own sense of ready, perhaps your blanket, perhaps the position of your pillow, perhaps the way your feet like to rest. Before sleep comes, there is a small cleansing, simple, steady, and unhurried. William walked to the stream. It wasn't far, but the path felt longer in the evening, not because the distance changed, but because everything slowed. The stream spoke in its own language, a consistent movement over stones, a soft hush where it widened, a brighter sound where it narrowed and quickened. He crouched and dipped his hands in. The water was cool, not cruel, just honest. He brought water to his face slowly, letting it touch his cheeks, his brow, the bridge of his nose. And he noticed as he did that the day's heat was truly gone now. The air carried a clean coolness. His skin recognized it and responded. Wakeful for a moment, then calmer. He washed his hands and arms. He rinsed dust from his wrists and knuckles. He let the stream take what it could: sweat, grit, the small residue of effort. He watched the water run off his skin and return to itself. And as he watched it, he noticed the first stars appearing, not all at once, but one at a time, like quiet lanterns being lit in a distant field. If you'd like, let your attention travel through your own hands now. Palms, fingers, the soft webbing between fingers. See if you can feel a faint warmth there, or a faint coolness, or perhaps just a simple neutrality. William stood and listened for a few breaths, not because someone told him to, because the stream invited it, the night invited it, his body invited it. He noticed the top of his head where the air touched his hair. He noticed his forehead and he let it smooth. He noticed his eyes behind his eyelids and he let them rest. He noticed the jaw again and he unclenched it. Then he noticed his shoulders, those strong, tired hinges of the day, and he let them settle downward, as if the bones could become heavier and the muscles could become softer. And then he let attention drift down his arms, to elbows, to forearms, to hands. He didn't force anything, he simply noticed what was there. Tingling, warmth, heaviness, nothing at all. Just noticing, just allowing. This kind of gentle scanning, moving attention through the body, noticing sensations without trying to change them, is one of the simplest ways to help the nervous system quiet down for sleep. A few breaths later, he turned back toward camp. At the sleeping area, men had begun to arrange themselves in familiar clusters. Someone's quiet voice began a prayer. Not loud, not performative, just steady words spoken as if they belonged to the night. Others joined, and the sound became a soft weave of voices. William let the words carry him without gripping them too tightly. He didn't strain to be perfect. He simply let the rhythm do what rhythm does. Make space. When the prayer ended, there was a small silence afterward, like the pause after a final note. No one rushed to fill it. The fire's last work. The fire was fed just enough to last. Someone nudged a log into a better position. A few sparks rose, then vanished. William watched a thin ribbon of flame fold and unfold along the wood. In that movement, he found something almost hypnotic. A pattern that never repeated exactly, and yet never surprised. If you're still awake, you can let your breath synchronize with the steadiness of the scene. Inhale as the flame lifts, exhale as it settles. A long exhale, a slower inhale, and then another long exhale. Night at a camp was never fully silent, but it became quieter in layers. First, the obvious sounds dimmed. Fewer footsteps, fewer voices, fewer tools. Then the smaller sounds rose into awareness. A horse shifted and exhaled, a calm breath in a large body. Leather creaked faintly as someone adjusted their cloak. A distant cough happened once, then did not happen again. And through it all, the stream continued, soft, constant, reassuring. The fire offered its own language, a quiet crack, a soft pop, the sigh of settling ash, crack, settle, pop, and then a pause, crack, settle, pop, and then a longer pause. It was almost musical, not in melody, but in spacing. If you notice sounds in your own room, air moving, a distant motor, the house settling, you don't have to label them as good or bad. You can let them be part of the background. The way the camp's sounds were simply part of William's night. Without electric light, darkness wasn't an absence. It was a presence. It had weight. It had softness. It made edges blur. It made distance harder to measure. But it also made the world simpler. In daylight, the camp was a place of tasks and bodies and constant motion. In darkness, the camp became a collection of quiet forms, the low outline of tents, the faint glimmer of embers, the pale suggestion of a path. William looked up. The sky was full. Stars were scattered in a way that felt both random and exact. A wide band of light, faint, milky, stretched across the darkness overhead, as if someone had brushed a soft cloth across the sky. He didn't name it. He didn't need to. He simply watched. And as he watched, something in him loosened further, because the sky asked for nothing. It didn't demand effort. It didn't demand proof. It simply existed, vast and patient. Firelight did something special to the night. It didn't illuminate everything. It created a circle, and inside that circle there was warmth and visibility. Outside that circle there was darkness and rest. William noticed that his mind became calmer when he stayed within what the fire revealed. A hand, a bowl, a fold of cloth, a friend's profile in shadow, simple things, close things. When his gaze wandered too far into the darkness, his imagination could begin to wander too. So he returned to the near world. The near world was enough. The near world was safe. You can do something similar now. Return attention to what is close. The feeling of your blanket, the weight of your head, the contact of your body with the bed. The air cooled gradually, not in a sudden drop, not with a shock, just with a steady easing away of warmth minute by minute as the ground released the day. William adjusted his cloak around his shoulders and chest. The wool scratched a little, but it was the scratch of something familiar. He'd learned that comfort wasn't always softness. Sometimes comfort was simply what you knew well. He lay down and felt the earth under him. Hard, yes, but steady. And steadiness mattered more than softness. The ground held his weight without complaint. It received him, it accepted him. Nearby, another man lay close enough that their warmth would mingle faintly through fabric and air. It wasn't intimacy, it was practicality, but practicality in the night could feel like kindness. As the camp quieted, time changed texture. In the day, time was chopped into duties. In the night, time became a slow river. William noticed the way minutes no longer needed to be used. They could simply pass. He listened to his breath. He noticed it was slower than before. He noticed the small pause after each exhale, an empty space that didn't need to be filled. He didn't force that pause. It arrived on its own, and he let it stay. If it helps, you can let your breath be easy. An anchor doesn't have to be heavy. It can be as light as noticing air moving in and out. Thoughts still arrived, of course, a memory of a lane back home, a brief image of his mother's hands, a flicker of tomorrow's duties. But the thoughts came differently now. They arrived like distant lanterns, visible, then dim. He didn't chase them. He didn't argue with them. He let them appear, and then he returned to sensation. Firelight on the edge of a bowl, warmth in his palms, the steady hush of the stream, a breath in, a breath out, and slowly, without any single dramatic moment, sleep began to approach. William's attention wanders through his body the way a lantern's light might wander through a small room. He notices his forehead. He lets it smooth. He notices his eyes. He lets them rest back in their sockets, heavy and quiet. The camp continued around him, but it moved farther away, as though the sounds were stepping back politely to give him space. The fire's crackle became softer. Voices became indistinct. The stream remained, a constant thread. His breathing slowed, and his body began to feel heavy in a pleasant way. Not trapped, not weighed down, just settled. If you'd like, you can take one slow breath in and let it out as if you're setting down a burden. A few breaths later, his thoughts became less like sentences and more like fragments. A color, a scent, a brief image, then nothing, then adrift. In his first sleep, dreams came like soft weather. He walked across a field that wasn't any specific field, and yet felt like Yorkshire. He saw a line of hedges. He heard wind moving through them. He saw a kitchen table with warm bread, and the bread wasn't a feast, it was simply bread. Ordinary, and therefore perfect. The dream didn't demand, it didn't frighten, it didn't accelerate. It moved slowly, like a boat in calm water. His body lay still, his breath stayed steady, and the night continued its quiet work. For the next 2 hours, William sleeps. It is a genuine sleep, his mind resting, his body recovering from the day's exertion. His face is peaceful now. The tension that lives in his jaw during the day has relaxed. His mouth is soft. There is nothing he needs to hold on to, nothing he needs to protect. His body is still now. His breathing is slow and deep. The muscles that spent the day in effort are beginning to recover. The cells of his body are being repaired, molecule by molecule. Energy is being restored to tissues that were depleted. There is nothing else that needs to happen. There is nothing else that needs to be done. There is only this: sleep, rest, recovery. His only task is to continue breathing, to continue resting. You are drifting now, like William. Your body is becoming heavy. Your mind is becoming quiet. There is nowhere to go. There is nothing to do. There is only rest. Rest upon rest upon rest. Layers of peace, accumulating moment by moment. Somewhere in the middle of the night, William's sleep loosens. Just slightly. It does not break apart. It does not shatter into wakefulness. It simply becomes lighter, as if his mind rises closer to the surface of a quiet lake. He is aware, faintly, of the cloak along his shoulders, aware, faintly, of the night air resting against his face, aware, faintly, of the steady, patient hush of the stream. His eyes remain closed. But inside him, something stirs, an in-between state, neither fully asleep nor fully awake. A small clearing in the forest of sleep. In the medieval world, many people lived with a natural rhythm like this, sleep arriving in one portion, easing, then returning again in a second portion. Without bright artificial light, the body often followed the night in a slower, segmented way. William does not name it, he simply experiences it. If you find yourself hovering in that same way, half dreaming, half aware, you don't need to do anything about it. You can let it be normal. You can let it be gentle. He listens for a moment, not as a guard, not as a soldier, just as a human being in the dark, noticing that the world continues softly when people are resting. A coal shifts in the fire, a horse exhales, the air moves, almost imperceptibly. William takes one slow breath in and lets it out. There is a pause after the exhale, a small, clean silence. He stays inside that silence for a moment. You might try that too. Inhale softly, exhale slowly, and notice the tiny pause after the breath leaves. In the faint light of embers, William's hands move with familiar care. He adjusts the edge of his cloak, tucking it closer around his chest. He checks that his boots are still where he placed them. He touches the ground near his elbow, feeling for a small stone that has shifted into an uncomfortable place, and nudges it away. These are not dramatic actions. They are not important in any heroic way, but they matter. They are the quiet art of becoming comfortable, of persuading the body that it can fully surrender. A nearby soldier turns once in sleep, the movement slow and heavy. Cloth whispers against cloth, then stillness returns. William's mind drifts toward an ordinary memory, the feel of clean straw beneath him at home, the smell of bread cooling on a wooden board, the way a house sounds at night, settling timbers, distant wind, the soft reassurance of familiar walls. The memory does not make him restless, it makes him softer. If your mind offers you an ordinary image, something simple and safe, you can let it stay for a moment, not as a story you must follow, but as a warm shape the mind can rest against. William's attention wanders through his body the way a lantern's light might wander through a small room. He notices his forehead, he lets it smooth. He notices his eyes, he lets them rest back in their sockets, heavy and quiet. He notices his jaw. He lets the teeth unclench, the tongue lie loose. Then he notices the shoulders again, and he lets them settle down, 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 as if the earth itself is gently pulling them toward rest. His attention moves down the arms, elbows, forearms, hands. His fingers relax. If you like, you can do the same, slowly moving attention without forcing change. Mindful body scans often work this way, noticing sensations with curiosity, allowing the nervous system to soften without a struggle. A few breaths later, William drifts again. The clearing closes, sleep returns like a tide sliding back over sand. Later, sleep deepens again. Quietly, thoroughly, William is no longer tracking sound as sound. The camp's small noises no longer form meanings. A footstep can pass without becoming a thought. A cough can happen without becoming a worry. Even the fire's shifting becomes part of the night's background, like wind in distant trees. This is the kind of rest where the body stops bracing. His breathing becomes slower, his muscles soften, his hands, so often clenched during the day, open in sleep. In deep rest, the mind is not working at language. It is not building sentences. It is not rehearsing. It is simply resting inside darkness. If you are awake while listening, you can borrow that idea. You don't need to make language right now. You don't need to solve. You can let your mind be simple. Even in a medieval camp, the night holds a kind of care. A few men remain awake at the edges of the sleeping world. Their job is not to create fear. Their job is to keep the night steady. And because that steady watch exists, the center of the camp can become a place of deeper surrender. William does not think about it. He only benefits from it. He sleeps. His breath continues. His heart continues. His body does what bodies do when they are finally allowed to stop pushing. If you need a thought to rest on, you can return to one. In this moment, nothing is required of me. The night stretches long, not long in a tiring way, but long in the way a quiet piece of music can feel spacious, with room between notes. William is not measuring time. There is no clock voice inside the night. There is only darkness and warmth near embers and the slow, natural rhythm of breath after breath. The deepest restoration is happening now. His body is at work, but the work of rest is invisible work. His nervous system is down-regulating. His mind is processing the day's experiences. His body is repairing tissue. This is the work that makes life sustainable. Medieval sleep science understood at some level that this kind of deep rest was essential. Soldiers who could sleep well recovered better, fought better, survived better. And so the culture created space for rest, valuing the soldier who could surrender to sleep, who could trust the night. Your body is doing the same work now. Trust it. It knows what to do. At some point, the camp shifts quietly, and it is William's turn to rise. He wakes without shock. He wakes as if floating upward, slow and calm. He sits for a moment, letting the blood return to his limbs. He adjusts his cloak. He stands. The air is cooler now, not punishing, just clear, clean. The night sky feels very close, full of stars. The world beyond the camp is mostly darkness, but darkness that feels wide and still. William begins to walk the perimeter. His footsteps become a rhythm. Step, step, step. The ground is uneven, packed earth, a patch of grass, a place where stones hide. But his body adapts without complaint. He takes a breath in. He lets it out. He walks again. This is not a chase. This is not a rush. This is simply walking in a circle, in the quiet. And walking becomes a kind of meditation. His attention rests on simple things: the feel of his feet in his boots, the movement of cool air across his cheeks, the sound of his own breath inside his chest. Sometimes he counts his steps, not urgently, just gently, as if numbers are pebbles he can hold in his palm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he lets the counting fade and returns to sensation again. If you're awake, you can imagine walking too. Not to get anywhere, just walking for the rhythm. Inhale, and a few steps. Exhale, and a few steps. The mind likes gentle repetition. It gives the mind less to grip. Asterisk. The night watch has its own particular loneliness, but it is not an unpleasant loneliness. It is the loneliness of someone allowed to step outside the community temporarily, to be apart, to exist briefly in solitude. And in that solitude, the world reveals itself differently. The stars seem brighter when you're truly looking at them. The darkness becomes not something to fear, but something to inhabit. William has learned to appreciate these hours, the rare moments when his mind is not occupied with duty or conversation, when he can simply exist in the rhythm of walking, breathing, feeling the ground beneath his feet. The camp behind him is a living thing. He can sense it even from a distance. The warmth radiating from sleeping bodies, the faint snores of a man nearby, the occasional shifting of a soldier waking briefly before drifting back to sleep. He is the guardian of this collective rest, and in being guardian, he feels a strange kind of pride. His footsteps mark the boundary between safety and danger, between the sleeping world and the waking world, between what is known and what is unknown. With each lap, he confirms that nothing has breached this boundary. Nothing has disturbed the peace. The night remains intact. After the first hour of watch, William's body has settled into a rhythm so deep, it becomes almost involuntary. His feet know the path. His eyes have adjusted to the darkness. His mind has quieted into a state that is neither fully alert nor drowsy, but something in between, a kind of wakeful meditation. He passes the same landmarks repeatedly: the twisted oak at the northern edge, the pile of firewood at the eastern post, the wide stream that runs along the southern perimeter, the line of sleeping soldiers at the western edge. Each landmark confirms his location. Each confirms that the world remains as it should be. The repetition is deeply soothing. It tells his nervous system that nothing unexpected is happening. It tells his body that it can relax slightly, that vigilance need not be absolute. The routine itself becomes a form of reassurance. If you find yourself in repetitive motion in your own life, walking, a commute, a familiar path, you can borrow this quality of attention. The repetition itself can become meditative if you allow it. William stops at the top of a slight rise and looks upward. The stars have been burning in their patterns for thousands of years. They will continue burning for thousands more. Compared to that vastness, what does his duty matter? What does his fear matter? What does his homesickness matter? And yet, here he is, standing on cold earth, under these same stars that burned above his village in Yorkshire, the same stars that his mother looked at, the same stars that his ancestors looked at. In this moment, separated by time and distance, they are connected through the simple act of gazing upward at the same eternal light. This thought brings a strange comfort. He is part of something vast and continuous. His suffering matters less, but his presence matters more. He is a link in an endless chain of humans who have stood awake in the night, watching over others, maintaining the boundaries between chaos and order. The weight of his responsibility, which moments ago felt heavy, now feels purposeful. The stream along the southern edge of the camp has become William's constant companion. Every time he reaches that part of his circuit, he pauses to listen to it. The sound is unchanging and yet always changing. The same water flowing over the same stones, but never quite the same moment twice. He has learned that this sound is deeply grounding. When his mind begins to drift toward worry or fatigue, the sound of the stream anchors him. It says, keep moving forward. It says, you are not alone. It says, nothing lasts forever, but this moment is solid and real. If you listen closely to your own space right now, you might notice a similar constant. Perhaps the hum of a refrigerator, the distant sound of wind, the settling of your house, the subtle sounds of the neighborhood. These constants are not interruptions to your rest. They are anchors. They are proof that the world continues its work while you sleep. The second hour of watch passes, then the third. William's body has found its steady state. His breathing has slowed to match his steps. His eyes have become so adjusted to darkness that he can navigate without conscious thought. Other guards appear and disappear in the distance. A nod, a quiet word, the minimal acknowledgement that others are also awake, also vigilant, also maintaining the boundary. But mostly there is silence. Mostly there is just William and the night, and the endless pattern of his footsteps marking the perimeter. One lap, and another. The rhythm is everything. The rhythm is what keeps him awake but calm. The rhythm is what allows rest while remaining alert. The rhythm is what transforms duty into a kind of meditation. Toward the end of the watch period, William notices a subtle change in the star's position. Not dramatic, not noticeable to casual observation, but he has been watching long enough to see the slow rotation. The night is progressing. The watch is nearing its end. A certain star that was high in the eastern quadrant has moved lower. Another star, barely visible before, has begun to emerge above the western horizon. The sky is a vast clock, and William has been reading it without thinking about it. Time moves, whether we measure it or not. The night has a shape and a rhythm all its own. In the distance, a guard passes, a quiet nod, no conversation needed. The whole camp feels like a sleeping animal, large, warm in the center, watchful at the edges, resting as one body. William completes the circle, then another. Each lap is almost the same, and that sameness is comforting, because sameness means nothing new is happening. Nothing needs attention. The night is steady. Eventually, William's watch is relieved. Another guard emerges from the darkness, a shape becoming solid as he approaches. They exchange the briefest acknowledgement, a hand on the shoulder, a quiet word, and then William steps away from the perimeter, leaving his post in the capable hands of another. The walk back to his sleeping place is longer than the walk around the perimeter. Or perhaps it only feels longer because his body is now releasing the alertness that had kept him upright. His legs feel heavier, his eyes feel heavier, his mind is beginning its descent back into sleep. He returns to his place in the camp. The fire is lower now, just coals glowing faintly in the darkness. His companion is still asleep, exactly where William left him, having not moved an inch in the hours of the watch. William lowers himself carefully to the ground. He pulls the cloak around his shoulders again. The earth feels firmer than a bed, but it is familiar. He finds the angle where his neck can soften. He releases his jaw. He takes one slower breath than the one before, then another. And sleep returns, not as a sudden drop, but as a gentle dimming, like a lamp turned down in stages. The transition from wakefulness to sleep happens so naturally that William cannot point to a moment when it occurs. One moment he is aware of the night around him. The next moment he is somewhere else entirely. In a dream state where the boundaries between memory and imagination blur into something neither wholly real nor wholly imaginary. In this second period of sleep, the restoration accelerates. William's body, having rested already for several hours, now enters even deeper phases of sleep. The work of repair becomes more intensive. Muscle tissue that was stressed during the day is being rebuilt stronger. Neural pathways that were overworked are being pruned and reorganized. His immune system is being reinforced. This is the kind of sleep medieval warriors fought for. Not the first sleep, which could be light and vigilant, but this second sleep, when the body could finally afford to let its guard down completely. His breathing becomes almost imperceptibly slow. His heartbeat drops further. His body temperature, which had dropped when he first lay down, now begins a slight rise as his metabolism focuses on internal repair rather than maintaining alertness. Occasionally, his muscles twitch, the involuntary contractions that happen when deep sleep is most profound. His fingers might curl and uncurl, his legs might shift, but these movements are automatic, nothing more than the body's way of processing and releasing. This is the sleep that heals. This is the sleep that builds resilience. This is the sleep that medieval soldiers understood they needed to survive. And this is the sleep your body is now providing to itself. In this second stretch of sleep, dreams arrive differently, not as narratives, but as ordinary scenes made luminous. Hands rinsing in water, a bowl filled with warm broth, a candle flame wavering in still air, a path through hedges, a woman's face smiling, the feeling of safety, the knowledge of home. The dreams do not demand interpretation. They are simply the mind's soft way of organizing life. They are the mind's way of integrating experience, of taking the raw material of the day, the stress, the effort, the fear, the small moments of comfort, and weaving them into the fabric of who William is. In these dreams, there is no rush, there is no judgment. There are only scenes, sensations, feelings that arise and pass without clinging. Sometimes a dream will deepen into a kind of story. William might find himself walking through familiar fields, or standing in his mother's kitchen, or speaking with a friend he thought he'd lost. But these dreams have a quality of acceptance to them. They don't try to convince him that these things are real. They simply offer them as gifts, memories, hopes, possibilities, all woven together into something neither wholly past nor wholly future. If worry tries to enter, it arrives like a distant sound, and then it passes because the body is too tired to chase it. Concern about tomorrow, fear about danger, anxiety about his performance in training, all of these try occasionally to surface, but they find no purchase. The body's deep rest is stronger than any worry. The nervous system's down-regulation is more powerful than fear. If your own mind offers worries, you can meet them the way a body scan meets sensation. Notice them without wrestling. Then return attention to breath, to weight, to warmth. They will pass, because worry requires energy, and in sleep, all energy is reserved for healing. What William does not consciously know is that his brain is working harder in sleep than it does during waking hours. Different kind of work, but work nonetheless. His mind is consolidating memories, deciding which experiences deserve to be encoded into long-term storage and which should be discarded. It is pruning away unused neural connections and strengthening the pathways that were most frequently used during the day. His mind is sorting through emotions, integrating them into his understanding of self. The fear he felt during training is being processed and contextualized. The small moments of camaraderie with fellow soldiers are being integrated into his sense of belonging. The homesickness is being acknowledged and then, slowly, being woven into acceptance of his current reality. This is not conscious work. It is the background work of the mind, the work that only happens when consciousness steps aside and allows the deeper intelligence of the body and nervous system to do what it evolved to do. Your own mind is doing this work right now. Let it. Trust the process. You don't need to think about how to heal. Your body knows. As the night deepens into its later phases, William's sleep follows a rhythm that his body understands instinctively. He cycles through multiple phases of sleep, from light sleep to deep sleep and back again, each cycle lasting roughly 90 minutes. In the third or fourth cycle, the dynamics shift slightly. His deep sleep becomes shallower because his body has done much of the restoration work it needed to do. His REM sleep, the phase where most vivid dreaming occurs, becomes longer and more prominent. His mind, now well rested from earlier cycles, is freer to explore, to imagine, to process the emotional content of his experiences. These later cycles are not less important than the earlier ones. They serve different purposes. Where the first deep sleep cycle was about physical restoration, the later REM-rich cycles are about emotional and cognitive integration. His mind is having its turn now, after his body had its turn. Your own sleep likely follows a similar pattern. As the night progresses, you move through cycles, each serving different purposes, each contributing to the overall restoration that you need. Trust this process. Your body knows what it's doing. Toward the later hours, something changes in the quality of darkness. Not brightness, not yet, but a subtle softening. The stars seem to stand in slightly different places. The air feels slightly less sharp, as if the night is slowly preparing to let morning arrive. William does not know these details consciously. He is deep in sleep, unaware of the astronomical clock above him. But his body knows. His nervous system is sensitive to the subtlest changes in light, in temperature, in the electromagnetic rhythms of the approaching dawn. His body begins, at some level below consciousness, to prepare for the shift from sleep to wakefulness. His adrenal system, which has been quieted through the night, begins to gently ramp up. His body temperature, which had dropped when sleep began, starts a slow rise. His hormonal systems, having flooded his body with sleep hormones, begin to clear them away gradually, replacing them with the hormones of wakefulness. His breathing becomes a little more active, not dramatically, but noticeably. His limbs feel slightly less heavy, as if readying themselves for movement without actually moving. The deepest restoration has already happened. The work of healing is largely complete, and now the night's last work is simple, to let him rest in ease while his body prepares its gentle transition. He is still fully asleep. he is still completely rested, but his body is beginning its return journey toward waking. You might sense a similar shift in your own sleep as morning approaches. It is not an interruption. It is not a failure of sleep. It is simply your body's intelligent response to the rhythm of day and night. Trust it. As William's night draws toward its close, as the hours of deep rest prepare to yield to morning, we offer you this final meditation. Feel your breath moving in and out of your body, in and out, in and out. This breath is the rhythm of life itself. This breath continues whether you are awake or asleep. This breath will continue tomorrow and the day after and all the days of your life. Rest assured, you are safe, your body is being restored, your mind is being healed. All is well. And now, as the night deepens around you, as William's sleep deepens around him, we leave you with the gift of rest. Sleep well, sleep deeply, sleep peacefully. The night is long, the rest is deep, and all is well. Sleep in the medieval period was both similar to and profoundly different from modern sleep. Medieval soldiers, like modern humans, required approximately 7 to 9 hours of rest per night for optimal physical and cognitive functioning. However, the conditions of medieval sleep were vastly different. Medieval soldiers slept on hard ground. They slept in the cold. They slept with the awareness that danger could arrive at any moment. They slept with the physiological reality of constant low-level stress. Yet despite these challenges, or perhaps because of them, medieval soldiers developed sophisticated understanding of sleep's importance. They understood intuitively what modern sleep science has spent decades proving, that rest was essential for survival. They created routines that supported sleep. They valued the gift of peaceful night. They understood that a soldier who could sleep well was a soldier who could fight well, endure well, and survive well. Modern sleep research has revealed what medieval soldiers discovered through necessity. The brain cannot function optimally without adequate rest. When you sleep, your brain does not shut down. Rather, it shifts into a different mode of operation. During sleep, your glymphatic system activates. This is a housekeeping system specific to the brain that clears away metabolic waste products that have accumulated during waking hours. Chief among these waste products is a protein called beta amyloid, which when it accumulates has been linked to cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases. Sleep is literally how your brain cleans itself. During sleep, your memory consolidation system works to transfer information from short-term storage to long-term storage. This is why you cannot cram for exams effectively. Learning requires sleep for the information to stick. William, in his sleep, is consolidating the techniques he learned in training, moving them from conscious effort into muscle memory. During sleep, your emotional processing system is most active during REM sleep, processing the emotional content of the day's experiences, allowing you to wake with perspective and resilience rather than raw reactivity. Historical research has revealed that pre-industrial sleep was often biphasic, divided into 2 distinct sleep periods with a brief waking period in between. In medieval culture, this was the normal pattern. The first sleep would occur in the early evening hours, lasting approximately 3 to 4 hours. Then the sleeper would wake, spend an hour in quiet activities, prayer, conversation, simple tasks, before returning to the second sleep that would last until morning. This biphasic pattern was not a disorder, but rather an adaptation to the natural rhythms of pre-industrial life. Without artificial lighting to extend the waking day, humans naturally divided their sleep into two segments. William experienced something similar on campaign, though the conditions of military life often disrupted even this pattern. Modern sleep science has revealed what medieval bodies always knew. Deep sleep is where transformation happens. During deep sleep, the glymphatic system of the brain becomes activated, a cleaning system that removes the metabolic waste products that accumulate during waking hours. During deep sleep, the body releases growth hormone, which repairs tissues, strengthens muscles, and supports immune function. During deep sleep, the memory consolidation process stores new information, integrating it into long-term memory, turning experience into knowledge. 2. This is not laziness. This is not indulgence. This is the body's most essential work. This is where health is built. This is where resilience is created. In our modern world, with artificial lights, with constant stimulation, with the ability to work at any hour, we have lost some of what medieval warriors understood. We have lost the understanding that rest is not laziness but necessity. We have lost the understanding that surrendering to sleep is an act of courage and faith. The medieval soldier, closing his eyes on hard ground, surrounded by challenges, managed to find peace. He managed to surrender to sleep. He managed to trust that rest would come and that he would wake again. This trust, this surrender, this willingness to rest even in difficult circumstances, this is a gift we can learn from. Sleep researchers now understand what medieval soldiers knew intuitively. Sleep requires surrender. It requires the ability to let go of worry, to release control, to trust that the night will pass and morning will come. Creating conditions for better sleep involves ritual and routine. Medieval soldiers understood that consistent rituals, prayer, washing, preparing for sleep, created psychological readiness for rest. Modern sleep hygiene confirms this. Consistent bedtime routines signal the body that sleep is coming. When William performed the same rituals night after night, his body learned to expect sleep at the completion of those rituals. Your body will do the same if you establish consistent routines. Physical preparation. The body must be genuinely tired, genuinely ready for sleep. Activity during the day, even gentle activity, contributes to sleep quality. William's training sessions, his walks, his daily labors, all of these had prepared his body for the deep sleep he achieved. Similarly, movement and activity during your day contribute more to your nighttime rest than you might expect. Safety and security. The knowledge that one is safe allows the nervous system to relax. Medieval guards provided literal security. Modern sleep requires psychological security. William could sleep deeply because he knew others were awake, watching over him. You can cultivate a similar sense of security through knowing that your doors are locked, that you are in a safe space, that nothing demands your immediate attention. Surrender, the willingness to let go, to trust the process, to allow sleep to come. This cannot be forced. It can only be invited. This is perhaps the most important element. Sleep does not come to those who demand it. It comes to those who invite it, who create space for it, who release the need to control it. Darkness, the absence of artificial light, allows the body to produce melatonin and enter deep sleep naturally. William slept in near total darkness, interrupted only by the glow of distant embers. Your bedroom, similarly, benefits from darkness, not punishment of the senses, but a return to the natural conditions in which sleep evolved. Silence and simplicity, the absence of artificial noise and sensory complexity allows the mind to quiet. A world stripped of constant stimulation becomes a world where rest is possible. Medieval camps were loud, but the sounds William heard, animal sounds, natural sounds, the sounds of sleeping humans, were rhythmic and familiar. Your sleep improves when your acoustic environment is consistent and free from jarring interruptions. Temperature regulation. William slept wrapped in a cloak, sharing warmth with nearby companions. Your bedroom temperature matters. Cool enough to be comfortable, warm enough to feel secure. The body sleeps best in a slightly cool environment, around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Acceptance of discomfort. William slept on hard ground and still achieved deep sleep. Not because discomfort is ideal, but because he accepted it, did not fight it, did not let it prevent his surrender to rest. You might not sleep perfectly, that is normal. The acceptance of small discomforts, the willingness to sleep despite them, is often more important than perfect sleeping conditions. Modern sleep research confirms what medieval warriors discovered through necessity. These elements create the conditions in which deep, restorative sleep becomes possible. None of them alone is sufficient, but together they create an environment in which your body and mind can do the essential work of restoration. This sleep documentary offers you the gift of a single night, a night of peace, of rest, of recovery. In listening to William's story, in drifting alongside his sleep, you have participated in something ancient and essential. You have remembered what rest feels like. You have experienced the gift of surrender. May you carry this experience forward. May you remember that rest is not indulgence, but necessity. May you trust that sleep will come, and may you wake tomorrow restored, renewed, and ready to meet the day.